This is Sunday. Yeah, these two, the big girl. I think it's I don't know. Little girls.
Because of addicts.
All right, it's 7 o'clock, so welcome everyone. I'll declare the meeting open at 7 o'clock and I'll do the acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we live, work and play. We pay our respects to Dargan country and elders past and present. Recognise the continued connection to these lands and waterways and extend this acknowledgement to the homeland and stories of those who also call this place home. We recognise our future leaders and the shared responsibility to care for and protect our place and people. I remind councillors, all those present, that your image and what you say may be broadcast live to the public, so please be mindful of your actions and your comments. You should avoid making statements that will harm or offend, and note recording this meeting will be in council's archives. Please turn off your mobile phones or switch to silent. Filming or photography are not permitted at the meeting. Anyone observed you filming the meeting may be asked to leave. We have apologies from Mayor McKenna and Councillor McNamara, so they won't be obviously attending. And we have a request from Councillor McQuaid to attend this meeting by audio visual in accordance with the Code of Meeting Practice as he has unforeseen caring responsibilities. So I'll move the committee approves the request of Councillor McQuaid to attend the Environment Planning Committee meeting by audio visual link because you're unable to attend in person due to unforeseen caring responsibilities.
Happy to second that.
Thank you, Councillor Castle. I'll put that all those in favour. Unanimous, thank you. Okay, are there any disclosures of interest? I so don't have any. I'm not proposing to go around the room. If anyone's got anything, just declare it.
Chair, I'll just note that I've previously declared a conflict on it's the planning proposed statistics. I will declare a non-pecuniary, non-significant conflict of interest now, as that matter is no longer under consideration of council. And so there's no real conflict in that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other disclosures, Councillor McQuaid?
No, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, we've got the first item is the confirmation of the minutes. 1.6, committee confirms the minutes of the committee held on 2nd December as true and correct. Moved by Councillor Merlin, seconded by Councillor Stanton. Any discussion? Or thank Councillor Walsh.
Sorry, I was a bit slow there.
That's okay. Any discussion? I'll put it. All those in favour? Go unanimously. Okay, next item is items resolved by exception. I note that in the list I've got, there's also 2.1 on my list, which is the minutes of the Electric Committee. Anyhow, there's a presentation from staff on 3.1 and 3.2. Probably want to deal with them. Any suggestion about other ones for discussion? I mean, want to do? I'll go through them. 3.3, Burns Place Management.
Sorry,
You want to call that?
Chair, no, I don't. I just wanted to actually go back a bit, go back a step to
sure.
the Coastal Estuary Committee. So the minutes here are for October. So just to save me going back into all the papers, so those minutes have already, they went to the November Coastal Estuary meeting. We had that meeting, or was it early December?
Which one are you asking for, sorry?
The October minutes, like these minutes that are in there for this agenda, they've already been to Coastal Estuary committee for
Yes, Councillor. So
that we get next meeting.
So there's been minutes for October, November and December because we had 3 quick meetings.
That's right.
these ones in October then went up to the November one coming through here. We're running a bit short on the November, December, but they'll be up to the next
I
meeting.
was asking because of the 3. Yeah.
So could I just further on that point?
Well, we're not actually on that item. That's kind of not a separate item we're going to deal with. But since we're on it, go ahead, Councillor.
It's just so is it the intention that the unconfirmed minutes will come to this committee, or they only come once they are confirmed by the subcommittee? Probably should be confirmed, no?
Yeah, that's
Well,
why.
Eric minutes were unconfirmed and they came to council. So what's the protocol around that?
We put the October ones to the November meeting. Yeah, we intended to put them to the meetings before coming to the EP committee. But I'll have to think about that when we go to 3-month period. It may be difficult to get it to meetings in time. So, but at the moment we've had a fair few meetings.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we'll go back to the exception. So I said 3.1, 3.2, we've got staff presentations on. 3.3 Burns Place. Anyone want to talk about that? I thought that was self-explanatory, but 3.4 Rimba. Want to talk about that? I actually did have just a question to ask on that. Seems up to you. Squirrel Grinders, again, I had questions on that. Fawn Street, the road widening. If that's out. Parking. Gosford, yes. Planning proposal statistics. Talk, no talk.
Let's talk.
Talk, okay. 3.9 development application statistics. No. 310 local planning submissions policy. 311 state significant developments. Don't think there are any changes in that anyhow. 312, that's got to be talked about.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, 3.9, if we could follow that.
Yep, sure. Okay, so then I've got the ones that we're not going to move by exception is 3.3, place 3.6, Point Street land acquisition, and 311 state significant developments. Happy with that?
Yeah.
So somebody want to move maybe adopt it by exception, move the points for well, second by Councillor Miller. Put that on those in favour. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us on 2.1, the minutes of the Terrestrial and Floodplain Subcommittee, October to the 25. The recommendation is that they be received. Everyone happy with that? Before we put that, I'll just flag that I've got a matter arising from that committee, which I'm proposing to be dealt with by staff advice and confidential. Given it's confidential, I can't really go into any great information at this stage, but obviously it'll become clear when we deal with it. So I'm just
Chair, repeat that. I didn't.
I've got a matter arising from the subcommittee to be dealt with in confidential session at the end of the meeting. So the recommendation, somebody want to move that? By Councillor Merlin, seconded by, all right, I'll second it. Councillor Eaton. Any discussion? I'll put that. All those in favour? Going unanimously. Okay. So now we have 3.1, the the submission to the state government's new strategic planning approach and industrial land policy. And Mr. Director, we've got some staff to tell us about it.
I can just ask the manager of strategic planning to just do a brief overview for councillors of the report.
So the Department of Housing, Planning, Housing and Infrastructure has got a 3 document for an exhibition which is proposing their new approach to strategic planning for the state. They've got a discussion paper that's called A New Approach to Strategic Planning, a draft statewide policy for industrial lands, and the draft Sydney plan. Their reasoning for looking at the state strategic planning framework is it's really complex at the moment. There's a lot of overlapping policies. I guess for us at council, it's often hard to work out what is current and what's not current, and when we do our own projects, what of their, I guess, plans and policies we're supposed to be following. There's not a lot of integration between policies at the state level. It's often hard to know who the responsible party is, and there's a lot of confusion and delays. They're proposing a 3-tier framework. There'll be a new state land use plan, which will have 7 priorities in it, which will be for the entire state. Those priorities will be then fed down into regional plans, and then priorities from the regional plan will also be fed down into council's own strategic planning. Probably the most significant change for the Central Coast is that at the moment there's 10 regional plans across New South Wales, and there's only proposing to be 4. So the Central Coast at the moment is its own region. We have our own plan, but under this proposal, we're proposed to be put in with the Lower Hunter. The Lower Hunter at the moment is Lake Mac, Newcastle, Maitland Cessnock and Port Stephens. But that very large plan is supported by a district plan. So they have the Greater Metropolitan Newcastle plan, which then pulls out additional level of detail for those 5 LGAs. As part of this proposal, that plan will become 6 LGAs for the Central Coast, and district plans are actually getting removed as part of this. So I guess the thought, and you've probably seen that come through in the submissions too that staff have written, is just how the important things that's important to the Central Coast, important to our community, planning, how that information, I guess, is included in the regional plan, and how we get our fair share of pages and time in that plan to make sure what's important for us in the community is it comes through. The other part, and the other key document that's on exhibition, is the statewide policy for industrial lands. This one's a little tricky to provide a submission on. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of mapping, and none of the background research has been made public as part of this. But the intent is that it is to secure and intensify industrial lands and employment lands across the state, and then provide categorisation as state significant, regionally significant or locally significant. And depending on how land's categorised, it will provide different planning controls and different ways of protecting land to ensure it's protected, say, from residential development and there's enough land for jobs across New South Wales. Why we, I guess, are supportive of the categorisation and the intent to ensure we do have enough employment land. It is just, we haven't seen all the background information. We have been involved in some of the workshops on this, so we've developed our employment land strategy coming back to the committee very soon. We were aware of this, and we do have some of the earlier versions of the mapping, which we have had a look at. So it is relatively consistent, but it's a little hard at this stage without all the information, at least. So next steps is it's on exhibition until the 27th of February. We've included 2 submissions attached to the report for tonight for the committee's consideration. But we just wanted to pull out the main points.
Any questions? Yes, Councillor Smith.
Maybe not quite a question. Thank you for the submission. I think there were a lot of good points in there. I guess there are 2 things I'd like to see that were stronger in the submission or included, and I did just send an amendment through when we get to it. Firstly, the principles. And I'm sorry, I've just forgotten the page where I'm at. The discussion paper has strategic direction with 3-tiered structure, and it has, I think, some principles. I'd like us to amend the submission to include climate change as a key principle, not putting residential in hazard areas. That doesn't appear as a principle or an underlying principle. I know it makes mention of climate resilience, but that's not quite the same thing. I would like to see some, and I think the staff, the submission does highlight some issues about the biodiversity, but I'd like to see a little bit stronger about protecting drinking water catchments through this, not just ours, but throughout the state. And I would like us to advocate for the Central Coast to be a standalone region. I think that's really important. Certainly when I read the Newcastle Herald, they're talking about is Newcastle becoming a part of the Central Coast? And so they're not liking it either. So I do think we should be advocating, and I note that the staff submission did seem to raise concerns about funding. If we're part of the Hunter, what does that mean in terms of funding allocations? So I do think we should advocate for the Central Coast to remain a standalone region. So I will move that motion, if I have a seconder.
Councillor Smith, can I just clarify? I assume that actually relates to the strategic planning discussion paper.
Yes, it is. Yes, not the industrial land one. It's the other one.
So that probably needs to be added into your.
Thank you. That the submission on the strategic planning discussion paper be amended to advocate the protection of wildlife corridors, protection of drinking water catchments, and the Central Coast be a standalone region.
Seconder for that?
Second.
Yeah.
Castles? Any other discussion? Any opposition? No? All right, I'll put it, all those in favour?
Position, come on. Oh my goodness. Everybody just take a moment. Take a moment, take a deep breath.
Unanimously. Okay, next.
Just try for a bit more.
Don't push it, Councillor Smith.
Of course you should.
Item 3.2, the mountain biking plan. Again, we've got a staff presentation.
I can just ask the section manager for biodiversity, Larry Milliken, to just give a brief overview, primarily around the changes to the methodology since last time council I have seen it.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. The recommendation for this report is that the committee note the information about the proposed methodology for developing the mountain biking plan, notes the changes that have been made to the proposed plan methodology following the presentations to the Environment and Planning Committee in December from a mountain biking group representative and a representative from an environmental group, and recommends that council and that the committee recommends to council that recommends that council approves the proceeding with it. Approves proceeding with the development of the Central Coast plan as per the proposed methodology. Sorry for tripping over my words there. The mountain biking feasibility study that was done in 2019 and 2020 had a number of points. And these are some of the issues that came out of it. There's a demand in the community for a range of mountain biking experiences in the local area. The number and type of mountain biking trails, of sanctioned mountain biking trails, does not meet that demand. Areas of high conservation value and areas that are suited to mountain biking are in many instances the same place. Unauthorised trails are impacting on the value of council's natural areas, including the costs. So we have come a couple of times to the Environment and Planning Committee with this report, or with report on the mountain biking plan. 4th of November, council made some resolutions relating to inviting speakers to subsequent meeting. In December, presentations were provided, and that the council made recommendations, including that the report come back to this meeting in February. So the Central Coast Mountain Biking Trail Alliance made a number of comments and recommendations in their presentation, including that mapping of all trails in the existing unauthorised network be done. I won't read through all of those, but you can read them there, including providing tender-ready costings for constructions, and that there is a limited need to repeat extensive and costly community consultation until the plan has been formulated. The representative from the National Parks Association, the presentation included a number of recommendations. Largely they were about the wording of the methodology rather than substantial changes to the intent of the methodology. And the overall recommendation is that they strongly recommend the development of a sustainable management and financial models in the plan prior to the construction of any trails. So we've considered that feedback from those two groups, and the recommendations that we have supported in the methodology, the changes that have been made. Again, I won't read through them all, but include specific reference to the engagement of professional and experienced mountain biking, trail construction and management expertise. The changes to the wording, any existing or future adopted plans of management, which while I noted in the methodology are not specifically referring to the Income Mountain Regional Reserve Plan of Management. So those are the changes that we have made to the methodology. And the next slide shows the another category of recommendations that we think belong in the mountain biking plan itself. So things like the inclusion of the recommendations made by the Open Space and Recreation in May 2025 to provide a number of different mountain biking experiences, including pump tracks, gravity dirt jumps that would happen outside the natural areas. So it would complement the mountain biking plan for the natural areas. And there's a couple of recommendations that we believed were probably not appropriate. The mapping of all of the trails in the unauthorised network. We thought that was probably too resource intensive, seeing that the process takes us through identifying land where we can support mountain biking, or we think we can support mountain biking, and then another group is the land where we think mountain biking can't be supported. So there's little value in mapping the unauthorised trails in those areas. And the last point there is that we believe that community consultation throughout the process, and we've included 3 phases of community consultation throughout the process, is an important part of what we should be including in the plan. Thank you.
Questions?
Yes, through you, Chair. I'm looking at the methodology attachment, and it runs through sort of point 1, point 2, point 3. Is the plan that it will be done exactly following 1, 2, 3, or will some of those things happen concurrently?
I think where possible, we'll run those things together. So the development of the criteria for the land, assessing the land, and the development of the criteria for assessing the trails, the unauthorised trails, existing trails, those things, for example. This work is going to involve engaging consultants to do that, and they will be able to deliver many of those steps concurrently.
And does that also involve the establishment of the active stakeholder working group? Would that be something we'd be considering doing, sooner rather than later, should I say?
I think so. There's a group of actions in the first part of it that I think all happen
Okay.
in near
Yeah.
proximity to each other in time.
Okay. Thank you. That makes sense.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, so a couple of questions. So the second last point about mapping of trails is proposed only to occur where mountain biking is assessed as potential. So that's ignoring the illegal trails, saying we're not going to map them, we don't know about them, or what? Like how should that be interpreted? But it doesn't get rid of the illegal trails, so we're going to ignore the illegal trails.
I don't think so. I think there are other ways of identifying where those trails are. There are sites out there that where the trails are identified. We've got our staff, our field staff know where those trails are. Okay. So it doesn't mean it just sort of saves, I think, cost and time in mapping trails that are in areas where we're not going to improve mountain biking. So that's the way that I've.
All right. So the document that's attached, I don't think it mentions compliance, but it's not really strong on compliance. So I do think that, with the provision of mountain biking comes a responsibility in terms of the compliance as well, especially if we're talking about how we should be funding this. Compliance should be a part of that model. So I would like to see more thought and stronger component of this that is about compliance. Because if there's no genuine effort, and I know it's hard, I know it's been hard for 10, 20 years, but this has to have a compliance component, a strong compliance component with it as well, would be my comment, and I can add something if I need to. The other thing, I'm a little bit concerned that the only expertise that we look like we're engaging is professional mountain biking construction expertise, and we're not engaging the expertise about Aboriginal sites. Sorry, I know that's not popular. Aboriginal sites, environmental, protection or environmental aspects of this. And I know council itself has a lot of that inbuilt knowledge, but if we're engaging professional construction expertise, I just don't believe that they're going to have that broad view of the environmental and cultural impacts. So I would like to see us to engage external contractors with that specific function to provide that expertise that balances the construction expertise that we know is basically going to come in and say, yep, mountain biking wherever we want it, and we'll do a nice track, and it doesn't matter.
Smith, I think you're verging on debate.
Was that well.
I'm not too worried because you'll start in the debate anyhow. So
you agree? Don't answer that. Let me think.
I'll come back to Councillor Walsh had a question.
Okay, yep, absolutely.
It's kind of to what Councillor Smith is saying, because the report and the methodology you talk about, where's wording again, don't use the word illegal, but use currently unauthorised. Is it the same thing?
Illegal.
Effectively.
Yes or no?
There are words like unsanctioned, sanctioned, unauthorised, authorised, illegal. So they're all kind of meaning the same thing.
So on that, the direction that Councillor Smith was going with her questions, I'd be wanting to know that information as well, because based on the presentation that was done by the mountain bike fellow, I didn't get a strong sense of a lot of wriggle room there, or a lot of kind of negotiable sort of material in terms of what the mountain bikers are looking for. And this isn't an I'm not sort of speaking in an anti-mountain bike way, because I recognise its relevance and importance and so forth. But I'm more concerned with the conservation aspect of areas like Kincumber Mountain, but also other areas. So it's not to not progress official mountain bike trails or even potentially expand some, but definitely am concerned that the sort of heritage value and conservation value of our lands is primary. And for that to be informed by the sort of desires and hopes of potential mountain bike trail construction, rather than the other way around, which is sort of how it looks a bit here. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think with our engagement of a consultant, it would be we're not going to engage individual consultants that have particular skills. We will engage a consultant that is able to subcontract or subconsult those skills in, so including the environmental and heritage skills required to do the assessment of the land and the trails.
Further question, just Councillor Smith?
Yeah, so on page 59, it's got Part D, proposed options for funding the implementation of the mountain biking strategy, including, and it's got a number of things. Why are 3 and 5 crossed out? I didn't quite understand that. So 3 is upgrading approved trails, including improved signage. 5 is maintaining approved trails, including the best model for doing that. Is there a reason why they're crossed out?
It was for wording, so those ideas were picked up in the other. So I'm not sure if you've got the version where there's so so the yellow represents changes from the original. Right. So I tried to pick up those ideas with the earlier versions. And I do note that I have improved signage specifically mentioned.
So they're covered elsewhere, is that what you're saying?
That's yeah, and I'm hoping I have elsewhere, but that was the reason those ones are.
All right, and then I think my last question, it wasn't clear to me, I think at the last meeting when the presentations happened, there was some suggestion that we look at opportunities for mountain biking broadly, that not just council land. Is that picking that up? Is this picking that up or not?
So there.
We're still just looking on council land and I guess COS land in particular.
So in 1B we've got our identify map location. So 3A we're looking at what's available in the region.
Okay.
But our plan itself was just for council land. National parks are currently doing a plan for Booty National Park.
Yeah.
State forests have their own plan or their own way of dealing with mountain biking. I see council's plan as complementing those plans, and that if we get to the point where we're promoting the Central Coast for mountain biking, then there may need to be another umbrella strategy or something that draws all of those in together. But this plan itself is just for council land.
But don't we need to recognise that it's in a wider strategy in terms of what the level of provision is for Central Coast?
Yeah. So so 3A I've got identifying the location of various mountain biking trails, etc., and the targeted use. Okay. So that's to try and pick up.
Oh, okay. Identify gaps.
Yeah. So what's out there?
Yeah.
And there's a question about what do we need to duplicate what's already there? Yeah. Potentially no. So what is it that council land can provide, and what are the constraints that exist that define what we can actually provide to the community without having the impacts on the environmental heritage.
Thank you.
Features.
Yeah.
Councillor Milne.
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
Hello.
Just some clarification for me. Earlier in the presentation, you said we reached out to the Aboriginal community for input. I know they didn't present at that last meeting. Have we had any input?
No, we did invite them to present, and I went to the office a couple of times. I couldn't. The person I needed to talk to wasn't there at the time. I do think that that doesn't mean that we're going to be involved in the process going down the track, but just at this stage, maybe it was what they wanted to present on the methodology as opposed to what the
They're on the stakeholder.
round outcomes might be.
Castles?
Yes, through you, Chair. I'm not really sure if this is appropriate or not, but it's quite clear that the matter of the a consultant and consultancy firm, whatever, who will do some work on this project, no doubt, is something that we've talked about a little bit tonight in terms of what would their role be and what would they be actually doing as such. I'm wondering if it's sort of appropriate and I'm not trying to get involved in operational matters here, but as it is of such sort of high interest, that the brief that is put together for the consultant is brought to this committee at least for noting, if nothing else, and comment. I think I certainly feel that would be really a useful thing to do, but I'm just not sure whether that's something that we could do or not. Maybe to the director through you, Chair.
That might be better to the director.
Yes, through you, Chair. If we could word it as if the committee would like regular updates, we could provide the committee in that update with details about the scope of the brief.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I think.
I'd rather not sign off on a brief, but we definitely incorporate an update so there's a chance for council.
And the scope of what that's put entailing, so that we feel exactly what
we could definitely do that.
What scope. Do you think we should put that in as a?
We're not quite to the motion. We've got to finish the questions and we'll go.
Yeah. Cool.
Right. Any other questions? Councillor McRae, do you have any questions?
Not yet, Chair.
Thank you. All right, thank you. So I have given the staff a slight change to the recommendation prepared, putting forward as the motion you brought up. Basically, the only changes are to the advisory group membership. I think it's called the working groups, like that. And just a basic statement that we actually do, the council actually supports mountain biking. So the changes to the advisory group are 2 mountain biking, 1 environmental, 1 Indigenous, and 1 from the tourism industry. I'll be happy to add to that for that. What Councillor Castles was after, that staff regularly report to the committee on.
So I only one environmental rep when you. Yeah.
Well, once we get a seconder, we can debate.
Having a second.
Thank you, Councillor Merlin. Yeah, so sorry, Adam, for that. Staff provide regular update reports
I think
to this committee.
I was particularly, Councillor, even particularly thinking about the actual, particularly about the scope, as Director Nichols mentioned, the scope and updates of the brief, which will consultants a brief basically that we would get an update on the scope and or get information on the scope and regular updates, as you said, to be reported to this committee, or words to that effect.
I'd rather it was fairly generic, and I think the director has taken on board your comments about,
Through you, Chair, councillor, I will interpret updates. The first thing you want to be updated on is.
So you'd expect that, and I mean, I guess the thing is, if we're finding it's not, we can always ask a question.
Yes, it's right, councillor will be.
Okay.
Chair, oh, sorry.
Just an amendment to your amendment.
oh no, this is the motion, but you can have an amendment by all means, councillor Walsh.
Yeah, to point 3, 2 representatives from environmental. So 2 representatives from mountain biking, 2 representatives environmental, 1 Indigenous and 1 tourism.
Did you get that?
Yes.
It's also not clear to me the tourism component at this stage. I mean, I think it's a valuable stage once the trails are established, but I think it's not the relevant matter at this point in terms of determining where these trails might be.
Wait till we get the amendment. I suppose, I mean, my thought about putting in tourism is, I think the view which I share, that this can be a valuable tourism resort, tourism asset, and generate tourism dollars. But also tourism, of course, includes bushwalking and enjoyment of the environment. So I don't actually think it's necessarily put one way or the other. I suppose what I see is it's a way of trying to provide a different lens, a different perspective on what can be used for, what they should be used for.
We have our ecotourism strategy.
Yeah.
But at this stage,
So all of those things
Stage of the
exist. So when these trails are in place, they fit in with that strategy, but that shouldn't be driving the consideration at this stage of suitability. This is about land suitability.
Yeah, well, that's exactly where I think it fits. So it doesn't necessarily just mean that you're supporting mountain biking. Might well be saying, no, this is better as an environment from a tourism point of view. This is better for enviro tourism, for ecological tourism. Anyhow, I mean, obviously it'll be a matter for the committee to make it.
Shame that we're not building something that we can all agree on, that you're looking for opportunities to divide, but.
Councillor Smith, I would ask you just to keep your comments to the technical and logical.
I was talking about the motion on the screen.
Yes, but don't make it about a personal attack.
Chair,
Yes, Councillor Miller.
propose a part 3 of your motion, that council proactively seeks commercial opportunities to offset any costs associated with delivering the mountain biking strategy. There's great models around Australia. You look at Derby in Tasmania. You look at
I'm happy to accept that. Can you give some
yes,
words to the
council proactively seeks commercial opportunities to offset costs associated with delivering mountain bike strategy. What's associated with delivering the mountain bike strategy? Some great commercial models that have transformed whole towns around Australia, and I think council should have a look at those models. They're well known across local government, and there's opportunities for us to create more tourism opportunities and commercial opportunities to offset the cost for maintaining these trails and doing appropriate monitoring. I think it's worthwhile.
protecting the environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go in there.
Yeah. Oh, no, that wasn't part of the motion, but that was the intent. Because when you look at Derby, places like that,
I think it needs to be. There is a cost to protecting the environment as well.
or I think by offsetting the cost of strategy, I would have hope the strategy was.
Sorry, I think there's been a bit of crossover between the amendment and the motion. So the motion is one environment. And then Councillor Walsh, what was your amendment again?
2.
Is there any other changes? Because I'm sorry, I didn't quite, okay. And there was
That's
a,
up there. That's already up there. So.
yes, but that's under the motion, so we need to put it up as the amendment, that's all. And was there a seconder for Councillor Walsh's amendment? Castles, thank you. We've got to deal with the amendment first when we get to that stage. Further speakers? For or against the motion or against the amendment? Councillor McQuaid, did you want to comment at this stage?
Yeah, just I think it's uploading a bit slow on my end. So the amendments were which parts?
The only difference between the motion and the amendment is the amendment retains 2 environmental representatives on the advisory group, working group, and the motion has 1.
This is the motion up in now,
So
isn't it?
this is a motion, not the amendment. Is
That's correct.
Yeah.
But the amendment will clearly be voted on first, so we need to have that.
Yeah, we can speak. I'll speak to the motion after that.
Okay. You can speak now if you're happy to, and it'll save a little bit of time.
Yeah, sure. I'll speak to it now. Obviously, there is demand for a range of mountain biking experiences in the region, which has been demonstrated already. I really think we're in a really strong position as a group of councillors, you know, to really get something done here and be calm and balanced and measured in our approach. I think the structure is really important with this sort of thing. Obviously, we come from, you know, various backgrounds and ideologies and, you know, experiences and whatnot. But I think, as I said, the structure to me should be about execution. Otherwise, we're going to be here in 4, 8, 12 years, as Councillor Smith alluded to earlier. I think the quality of the expertise matters, absolutely. Cultural heritage deserves absolute respect, which is why it's included in the original one. And tourism, in my opinion, represents discipline and accountability. As my experience, tourism operators are outcome driven and they work really well. So I think they would provide valuable experience. I'm just worried if we don't get this right from the start, we don't get this working group right, we'll be back here again, you know, in 4, 8, 12 years.
Thank you. The amendment was seconded by Councillor Walsh. Councillor Castle, sorry. Moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, I think everyone clear on what we're voting on?
Yeah.
So that's the amendment. So I'll put the amendment moved by Councillor Walsh, seconded by Councillor Castles. All those in favour? Councillor Smith, Councillor Castles, Councillor Walsh. Against? Councillor Eaton, Councillor Merlin, Councillor Stanton. I'll use my casting vote and declare the amendment lost. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? I think we know what it is, don't we?
So that's just the original, is it?
Yeah.
Because you added something.
That's right now.
Part 3.
Yes. Oh, yes, sorry, you're right. Thank you.
so they're voting.
That's there. It's part 3 down there. Proactively seeks, yes. All right, so
Sorry, can I just ask, mountain biking representatives 1 or 2? Because you had 2 originally.
one. Sorry, no, 2 mountain biking, 1.
Of course they-
2 mountain biking, 1 environment, 1 Indigenous, 1 tourism.
That's gone.
All right, all those in favour of the motion? Councillor Eaton, Councillor Merlin, Councillor Stanton. Against? Councillor Smith, Councillor Castles, Councillor Walsh. I'll declare it carried on the casting vote. Okay, the next item we've dealt with Burns Place. Next item is Arimba 3.4, Arimba Common. Director, you got any comments on that?
Chair, we're happy just in the report. Happy to answer questions.
Sure. I've got to bring it up myself. Don't like. Oh, I've got it on this.
Docs on tap 2.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I find that hopeless, so I'm working through like that.
Volume on the website.
Yeah, so I can't give you a page number. It's item 3.4. I'm doing that.
Let's go to the website.
So the recommendation is to receive the note, the report, and adopt the master plan, basically.
Happy to move the staff report.
Thank you. Seconder? Yeah, I'll second it for the purpose, please second it. And I do have a question to the director. And just to confirm that I think there is no actual money to implement this master plan.
Shannon, could you just?
We will go through the process of adding the projects needed to the infrastructure pipeline. So there's an implementation plan included as in the attachments, and it goes through the process of the next steps, which includes the detailed design, which will work out the exact price process for having the work done, and then through the infrastructure pipeline process that will prioritise the year that can be delivered and also works in funding source. So there is a couple of options, one being developer contributions or grant funding or council's just general capex. There is a number of options, and the project does qualify for council 712.
Okay, but there's no sort of commitment at this stage to funding, is there? I always think that we do these master plans and then the community get excited, thinks it's going to happen. And, you know, I think we need to put in something that there is no currently, no current funding available.
I agree. We've had this discussion previously, and sometimes when we endorse these master plans, there's an expectation by the community that will come to fruition quickly. I think from a communications perspective, we need to be really clear.
Yeah, through Chair, so there's no funding available at this stage, but there would be a process we'll work through for the implementation where council will then be able to see opportunities for future funding. But there's no funding built into at this stage for the delivery. But we would have to consider that against other priorities for council. But it does move it into the next stage of the process where we're getting into more detailed design and about to cost things, and then being able to prioritise them.
Councillor Walsh?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the director. Do we know there was no money for funding it before it went on public exhibition?
There's no money available, councillor, allocated at the moment for the implementation of these works. But the process we're in is to develop a master plan, which is a high level, which identifies then the more detailed work, of which we then do more detailed work and then we build it in. There is opportunities to get funding. So there's realistic opportunities that we will be able to deliver the master plan, but at this stage it's not allocated formally in our processes yet.
And not articulated necessarily when it goes on.
No, but it's like a chicken and egg. I mean, you need to work out what we're doing, councillor, then we need to then work out how much it costs, and then we need to work out how we're going to fund it. So it's in that process. So this is normal process for us, but there's no money there right now allocated, but we would be trying to build it into our program after this work.
Just through you, I mean, the implementation plan, which you referred to, I mean, which is obviously attached, and which I have to say slackly I had not actually looked at prior to right now. I mean, obviously it's all in there, what needs to happen. There are some timeframes in there. I'm noting that at the moment there isn't funding specifically sitting there to start doing it. But I mean, the process is not unusual, is it, for any of these sorts of master plan projects? I mean, this is quite a normal process to go through where you actually know how you will do it. You've already sort of made some, I suppose, projections about timeframes, and now we can work from there, kind of thing. Really where we're at, and work out how it's prioritised, etc.
So, yeah.
That's the way I look at it, anyway.
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand how we manage councillor expectations, let alone community expectations. So that's all. That's all.
Yeah, and the way we communicate it through our normal council channels.
Sorry, is the motion the one on the screen?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay, so it is adopted.
it is kind of there, and
The plan?
yes, and the last 12.4 kind of does make it relatively clear that there's got to be a process to fund it.
Can I just ask a question? And I apologise to the staff. I haven't actually looked at this in great detail. But when we do a heritage management plan or a management plan for a site like this, does the plan also extend to the surrounding areas? Does it look at that broader context for heritage in that area? Or does it just deal with the site specific?
Yeah.
Site and the
Okay. Thank you.
All right, it was moved by Councillor Milner and I seconded. Is there any more discussion? Not, I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Next item is the school guide 3.5 public competition. The recommendation is there. I just had a couple of questions. Somebody want to second the recommendation? Yeah, I could have thought, yes, Councillor Smith, thank you.
Sorry, I was contemplating the universe for a minute.
Come on.
Okay, so
Not the universe at the moment.
It is a school later.
So can I, through you, the director, and then because it's the relevant start. When I read the report, I got the impression that there might be half a dozen squirrel gliders on the Central Coast.
It's not very many. And the question is,
Oh, I'm just following on.
fruit or consideration?
We're working.
254.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So you have counted them.
Yeah.
But the report doesn't say that.
No.
The report says something like in a year,
Counted them all to know.
there was 11 sightings, and presumably some of those were of the same squirrel glider.
Sorry.
Yeah, so the New South Wales Bionet database is maintained by the government. Database contains 254 squirrel glider records of the Central Coast since 1976. And
Yes, that's 1976.
Yeah.
And then later on, it talks about a year's study, or just over a year, when there was 11 sightings. And as I said, presumably of the 11 sightings over a year, some of them were the same squirrel glider.
Glider expert, I can't comment.
And we seem to be doing, I mean, look, okay, so following on, squirrel gliders seem to be fairly prevalent over the whole of the east coast of Australia. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah. You can go down.
So there's been studies done on the central, so they have a dispersed range, but on the central coast, the studies are showing that they're in rapid decline with over half, 50%, 6% of the potential habitat with 70% suitability subject to fire.
Okay. And if I read the report right, because there's so few of them and we're not really quite sure where they are, if you've got a 70% vegetation, I suppose, or I don't know what the right word is, environmental suitability for squirrel gliders, we're just going to assume they're there. Am I reading that right? And yet we've got 6 squirrel gliders, potentially.
We actually don't know that.
It was 11.
No, 11 sightings. I'm just saying probably half of them are the same squirrel glider. It's like
Except we don't know that.
was it? Previously. So, last question for me. Look, just trying to figure out, if I'm reading this right. So they are in rapid decline, and that's sad. We don't want them.
You don't seem very sad.
No,
You sure about that?
But if they go extinct on the Central Coast, which would appear to be a distinct possibility.
We don't want that. We don't want them extinct.
Well, I understand that, but if they do, then we need, I guess what I'm saying is presumably we need to review this plan in 5 or 10 years.
And just strategic planning, when will we review the plan? How frequently?
See that in there.
It is generally every 5 years. We tend to review our plan.
Okay.
So Councillor, we would review it on a regular basis.
All right. Thank you. That's for my questions.
Happy?
Well, I'll be interested to see. I probably won't be around in 5 years' time, but it'll be interesting to see.
Well, careful what you say.
Give me more gliders and tugs.
All right. I'm prepared to support it. I just wanted to ask those questions.
Can we put it to the vote, please?
Yes, we can.
Please, before I'm getting
All those in favour? Unanimously. Okay, I've dealt with 3.5. So 3.7, parking enforcement. The 3. No, we done.
You did 3.
3.6, sorry, we've dealt with. That's right. So 3.7 is parking enforceability measures. There's a recommendation to note the report. Go ahead with it. Moved by Councillor Merland. Councillor Stanton is seconding.
Sorry, I've got.
We've lost the director, so we've got to wait for him to come back.
Okay.
You started that long ago.
Stop.
Councillor Smith, was that a question?
Yes, please. I do read the report, but it wasn't quite clear to me how the new technology works. Are the parking officers walking around with a gun? Are they driving? But with the, with the device.
Not ice.
Is it called a gun in the report, or am I just making it up? So could I just get some clarification about how it actually works?
It's a camera.
Yeah.
And it's a number plate recognition technology. And you attach the camera to a car.
Yeah.
And the car drives around and does the recognition.
They use car parks at the moment.
Yeah, it can be attached to a car. It can be you're driving it around, and then it provides information about overstaying in things instead of us chalking it up. And then we have 2 officers that patrol Gosford CBD, and they would physically go issue a ticket where there's an overstaying. They focus heavily on the safety side, so it's looking at no parking zones and no standing zones in areas where there's potential conflict with pedestrians, and so that they focus on that. But they also then focus on the timed parking areas as well, that there's a flow through of use of the short-term parking areas. But they have to physically issue a ticket. The camera doesn't issue the ticket; it just tells them about the overstay. It gives information about from the number plate about whether that car's got a permit. There's other information that you can you collect from that way that allows them to make the decision about the ticket more accurately as well.
So from what you're saying, the car is driving down the street and there's a camera that is taking photos of number plates parked adjacent to that car?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if we can go into debate, I'm actually inclined to.
Just say before you get to councillor, just to clarify, the officers are not in the car. or someone's driving the car, hopefully. But the officers are walking around. They're just receiving information on their technology about overstaying. The car's doing a circuit. Yeah.
Okay, so the car's taking up traffic space, going round and round the CBD while everybody else is trying to find a park. So I realise it's one car out of many, but it seems to me, a kind of almost not ideal. So look, I'm actually inclined to vote against this.
Oh, hang on, we'll see if we get it on.
I thought you had a mover and a second.
No, we haven't yet. So,
Yeah, you've got Merland and Stanton up there.
oh, sorry, I
Yeah.
beg your pardon.
We had done.
Yeah,
Like partly for that reason that I'd be interested to know the accuracy of getting number plates adjacent and at what speed that car can travel to ensure that there is accuracy. But the bigger issue for me, and I think it was also highlighted when people are getting fined without the police actually fining them, is that there's no deterrent factor. The deterrent of seeing the white chalk or seeing the guys walking around checking your car is a huge deterrent factor in terms of overstaying your parking. There's no deterrent factor of the car driving around, getting your number plate, and then somebody being told to go and book that car because it's been staying there too long. It's a small point. I realise maybe we can make lots of money going to the new technology, but it's also costing something to have somebody driving a car around. Are they driving around all day, or how often are they driving around with their camera?
Stop for lunch.
Yeah. So firstly, it's a trial. It's a trial about it. We're confident the information is accurate, but it is cross-checked by the officers, and the experience of deterrent is the same. We have 2 officers who walk around now. They put chalk on your tyre. They come back X night later and see whether you've overstayed. That's the same sort of experience that it would be when you're getting a ticket. Someone would come past, have checked your information, and then issue a ticket on the windscreen. It is a trial, and it is something that we would have to then make a decision on after the trial, after we've tested it and see how it operates.
How much does the trial cost?
The trial's free.
Oh, yeah, it was free, wasn't it? Look, I probably don't agree quite about the deterrent because, if I'm parking in borderline, I do pop out if there's chalk on my wheel, and decide whether to move it or not.
license plates.
I'll do that if you like.
So look, although you've expressed a level of confidence, I think the report said that the sensors didn't work, and they were probably confident with them at the beginning as well. So.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any other discussion? All right, I'll put it. All those in favour? Councillor Stanton, Councillor Merland, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Welsh, Councillor Castles. Against Councillor Smith. I declare that carried. 3.A is planning proposals statistics. 3.8.
Once again, Mr Chair, I'm happy to
Moved, Councillor Merland. Seconder.
Is it?
It's only statistics. All right, I'll second it. Somebody asked for this.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're doing okay for time.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, just a quick question here about it's the one at RZ6 2023 Coleridge Road, Bay, and I see that it's saying that it's withdrawn of application is pending, so it hasn't quite happened yet. Obviously, one assumes. And a revised planning proposal can be lodged once outstanding drainage and environmental flooding issues have been resolved. Is there anybody who could kind of comment on how those are going to be proposed to be resolved at all?
Yeah, through you, Mr Chair. They are being resolved. The applicant is just looking at some modified drainage.
Right, I know the site. So
to resolve the flooding, and the main issue really is that the gateway determination is going to expire. That's been after planning. So to save them actually having their application refused. We're just asked them to take it out.
Yes.
They need to do it, then they can give it.
Oh, I see.
Basically, so it will come back. It's just, and then we can resubmit it for them and get the process going.
Okay, thank you.
Walsh,
300 and Z5 2023, 310 Terrigal 5. Through you, Mr. Chair, to the director. Specifically, is this a matter we've had before us before?
Yes, councillor, you would have seen a report in December where we progressed it. So it's reported to the committee. Do you want to give an update?
Went to the council meeting.
Was that what I think was the last
It did, and
last week?
that here was wrong just because this report needed to be finalised before it went to the EP.
So-
Ordering council.
But it went there, it went to.
That was the
last
one on the corner.
Yes.
It's the one you looked at.
Finalise the process, the proposal.
Any other discussion? All right, put that, all those in favour? Carried unanimously. 3.9 development application statistics. Again, on second. Not sure who wanted this one. Waiting. I think showed some quite good news. So I think congratulations to the staff.
It's, there's been a lot of work put into getting rid of the older DAs. So at the same time, that quite much DAs have been determined, which increases our times. They're also able to drop the overall times, which were primarily about getting the smaller DAs going a lot faster, and the particularly the building surveying team are processing DAs a lot faster than we've done before.
Okay, what?
Any?
Apologies, it was 3.10.
All right, I'll put that then. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. 310. Local planning panel submissions.
Start before. Check.
Yep. Second.
Yeah.
I an amendment.
Sure.
The amendment is just 1 and 2. About 3. I have a second.
Sorry, are you removing 3?
Removing 3. I think I'm accepting that the department is not going to support the increase in submissions.
I'm happy to second your.
I'm inclined to think it's direct negative, but I won't rule that way, so I'll accept it as an amendment.
Chair, can I just ask for some guidance? If I was involved in a development application, would this policy affect that?
The change
Yeah.
through this policy isn't in place at the moment, so it requires the endorsement of the Secretary of the Department of Planning before it comes into effect. It's not in effect at the moment, so the current trigger for submissions for DAs to go to local planning panel is still in place.
Okay, so there's no consideration of this as a draft policy.
No.
Okay,
So it's still 10.
Yes, at the moment.
Okay, so the amendment was moved. I guess we got that up. This is
and if it was, yeah, okay. So if a DA was under consideration and the policy changed, would that during that period, would that affect particular submissions on that?
It required the Secretary of the Department of Planning to approve this, and that if that occurred after the DA was lodged, this would retrospectively affect.
Right.
So we won't be.
Does that affect a DA that was still open for exhibition or re-exhibited at any point?
So we would, when we're considering whether to go to the local planning panel, it's triggered by a certain number of submissions. So at that point where we're considering the number of submissions, if this changed after we've made that decision, we would or wouldn't send it. But I'd just like to say, I mean, in some ways, the bigger issue is that the state planning department are saying they're preparing a statewide policy, and they're really putting this on hold for individual councils changing their policies, and they're going to put in place a state policy instead.
Right.
So the most likely to happen is the state policy will override anything council.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other discussion?
So really, there's no point in the original part 3 of writing to the Secretary because they're working on a statewide community participation plan.
It's up to councillors, but the reason we put that in was that there doesn't seem any reason why the Secretary couldn't approve the changes to council's policy and then override it when a state policy comes in place. But yeah, I mean, it's honestly, they're going to do it either way.
All right, I'll put the amendment. Those in favour? Councillor Smith, Councillor Castles, Councillor Welsh. Against? Councillor Eaton, Councillor Moreland, Councillor Stanton, you abstaining? So that's a negative. So therefore, the amendment's lost on the casting vote. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Eaton, Councillor Moreland, Councillor Stanton. Against? Councillor Smith, Councillor Castles. Welcome to declare that carried on. Okay. 312.
I'm happy to move this one, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Merlin. I'll second it. Obviously, I put this up to discussion, but I will ask the director or he wants to invite.
Yes, I haven't done much talking tonight, so apologies, councillors. We're asked to provide a bit of background because this was there was historically incentives within the controls for Wyong in the LEP. And I've asked the Manager Strategic Planning just to explain that background to you to provide context for councillors. This is a councillor notice of motion, but we do have a bit of information that we can provide just as background for you when making a decision.
So under the Wyong Local Environment 2013, there was a clause in that plan, which was clause 7.11, that allowed provisions for iconic development on designated sites, which enabled developers to exceed the height and density limits in exchange for excellent design or public benefits. And the purpose of the clause was to try and get some amalgamation of some of the sites. So there was some larger sites where there was mixed-use commercial or residential development that was done to a really, really high standard to boost social and economic growth in town centres in the former Wyong LGA, so like Entrance, Tukley, Long Jetty, some of the larger ones. Developers could gain additional height and density if they met specific criteria, which was design excellence, sustainability, or improvements to public domain. The provisions were specifically designed for DAs to be lodged within the first 5 years of the commencement of the Wyong LEP 2013, and those provisions concluded on the 23rd of December 2018. They had a map in the LEP to show everyone where those sites were, and generally one through the DA assessment. There was also a planning agreement that nutted out all the terms of what they needed to include as part of their development for getting the additional height and FSR. Those provisions weren't carried over into the Central Coast LEP at the time. It was noted that they weren't really achieving what they were set out to do as so much time had passed, and that they were required to review. So at that stage, they weren't passed over. There is a number of other I guess, schemes that the Department of Planning has come up with over the last few years. So you've got your TODs, your low and mid-rise housing, and the Housing Delivery Authority, but none of those schemes actually had any consultation or very, very limited consultation with council. So while they do apply to different areas across the Central Coast, they aren't specific to the Central Coast. They just apply. Places the department thought they should, but they're not specific, I guess, to control. So they're the same in Lake Mac or as they are here.
Just for you, Chair, I'm not sure who really, the Director or Mr. Chairman. So when you're talking about, and it does mention in here, specific sites or certain sites, it says in Toukley and the entrance, and I think you've sort of mentioned when you said before about there might be sites where you could join them up together, whatever it might be. I just, because I'm sort of learning some of this stuff, obviously, as I'm going along, did that involve, or would that involve rezoning, similar to, you know, what used to be called spot rezoning, those sorts of things, or not? I'm trying to understand whether this actually also brings about a situation where you might actually have to do some sort of rezoning, or in inverted commas spot rezoning.
Through you, Chair, I suppose the way I read this resolution is, one, it's to provide a report, so we'd be able to do a lot of investigation and explain how it could work and options for council. But the way an incentive normally works is there's a clause in the LEP, so that a clause in the LEP that allows you to vary some of the LEP controls in certain situations. So, and the main LEP controls are related to floor space ratios, and also height. So an incentive clause would normally be written that you can vary the controls if certain things are done. And then it becomes a consideration when you're doing a development application, but it may refer to mapped sites in the back of a schedule of an LEP. And instead of applying across, it could apply across the whole council, but it could also be restricted to very limited areas. So we'd have to do a little bit of work about how that could work.
Yeah.
But an incentive would be a clause, not necessarily a spot rezoning every time.
Okay.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, just to maybe help as well, a lot of the development happening in Gosford in Man Street at the moment.
Yes.
That started through a very similar incentive scheme that was unique to Man Street in Gosford.
Yeah.
And although it didn't really take off at the time, those DAs were lodged on sold and the whole heap of arrangements. But just having that extra incentive made those projects viable.
So that's not the motion. Now we're looking at the one.
No. I was just
No, we're on
I'm just asking a question.
312, should be up to.
Councillor Eaton, wasn't it you that put it up in Mile? One?
No, I believe it was done on the it was done, I think, by the then general manager.
Michael Wood.
As a way of trying to boost some development.
11 iconic sites, and it didn't work. None of them actually worked.
I think there was one or two that did get developed, but
There certainly weren't two.
But not in Toukley and not in the entrance.
There were iconic sites identified in those locations.
Yes.
It didn't work.
Well, I don't know, so it didn't work. None of those sites got to a development approval. A number of them had a lot of work done on them, but didn't get to the end.
Similarly, in Gosford.
Councillor Smith, I'm trying to answer.
I thought you'd
let me finish the answer, and then I'm happy to come back to you again. Okay. So yes, none of them ended up with a development on them. The sites that I see as needing some help, particularly are at the entrance, the Alago sites, and they were certainly in there before. There's also what was called the Key site, which is the site next to KFC. There's the car park site in the entrance. There are three of the ones. I've only put the entrance in Toukley because I think they're the outstanding ones. And then in Toukley,
the Beachcomber site.
You've got the site next to the Beachcomber. You've got the actual car park in Toukley, which is mostly owned by council, and you've got the senior sits, which is owned by council, and a very extensive site. So I see them as being able to be transformative of both Toukley and the entrance if we get significant developments on those sites to basically bring business back into town. At the end of the day, it's a report. So thank you, Councillor Smith. I'm happy to try and answer further questions.
Again, it's failed. And I think in Gosford, I think they withdrew the incentive scheme and introduced the SEP. So the SEP is what triggered development. I think some of the history is...
That's not exactly right.
Well, I'll just finish and then you can rebut.
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of the issues with this is you get land banking. You get developers buying these sites, getting a DA approved and then selling it on. So they get the bonus, they get it approved and then nothing happens still. So I really think this is poor planning, and really the state government's throwing an awful lot at incentivising development. I don't think council needs to do this as well. I think.
Councillor Smith, are you aware of another SEP apart from Gosford?
Which one are you talking about?
There is one.
Sorry?
So there is a SEP in
There are lots of
Gosford.
steps, but not.
Yeah, so there's a SEP network in Gosford that doesn't exist anywhere else on the Central Coast.
Yeah, and that's not what this is.
No, but if you're saying that SEP's a better way to go, you're just praising the state government
No, I wasn't praising them. I was saying what they did.
in Gosford.
Okay, Councillor Walsh.
I didn't hear any praise there for the state government either.
Right.
So a few questions through you, Mr. Chair, to whoever can answer these. So these sites that now that you have actually identified verbally a number of were these sites already, had they already received incentives under the Wyong?
Yes, they were identified sites, some of the identified.
So they were identified sites that received incentives but failed. And so you're wanting to go back and revisit the whole incentive scheme on sites that had already failed. So are they land bank sites?
Some you could call that, I suppose, like a Largo possibly is a land bank site. The Toukley sites, well, they're sites that just haven't had development. I mean, the main Toukley sites are actually council sites.
So in terms of the public benefit, the incentives that were under the Wyong thinking, they weren't, that public benefit, was that essentially specified, like i.e. affordable housing, or?
Some were and some could have been.
Still failed.
I think back then, housing, affordable housing really wasn't a thing. Back then it was housing.
It's a different time.
Tourism, jobs growth.
I mean, the difference I see is it's a different time now. The Department of Planning back in 2017, 2018 wasn't terribly interested in housing development. Now, clearly they are. I mean, the TOD schemes only apply to
So you're saying that
stations, for instance, and this is effectively a TOD-like scheme applying in a couple of town centres.
Okay, so Councillor Eaton, you're saying that previously it failed because of the state government, the previous state government, not because of any developer issues or,
No,
you know,
I'm not saying that.
specifically land banking and so forth.
No, I'm not saying that. It was a different time. We're talking 12 years ago, coming out of the GFC. So, and there wasn't the pressure of housing. So housing prices have come up significantly. So the sites may well now be developable where at the time the economics didn't work for them.
Okay, so given that we're not specifying what the public benefit is, I do have an amendment I have sent through to civic support. If you could bring it up, thanks, guys, which does have a public benefit specificity in it. It's to replace 3B.
I sent it through to you. I said that Councillor Walsh would be, because I'm a quicker typist.
Yeah. Much quicker. And
I'll read it out while
I can read it out. So the amendment to 3B is the public benefit, and in particular the benefit to most vulnerable people in our community, and additional infrastructure that may may be provided to activate any bonus provisions or incentives, including a mandatory minimum affordable housing ratio of 30%, secured in perpetuity through registered community housing providers.
I'm happy to second the amendment.
Thanks, Councillor Castles. And I'll just speak to why. It's because of the failure of the previous incentive schemes, given that these sites were privy to that, have been land banked, maybe not all of them, but sounds like a few, and there was no actual public benefit. The fact that we did previously have a state government that was less focused on housing, certainly on affordable housing, that's not the case now. And if we are going to be looking at providing greater height and space and incentives to developers, that has to be tied to greater public benefit. And yeah,
I appreciate the intent. Right, through you, Mr. Chair, I appreciate the intent because it's very hard to build affordable social housing. The margins are super slim, and without incentives, it's very hard to any developer to take on that risk. Can I ask where the 30% came from? That's just a little bit outside what I understand what the norm is, because this model about 20.
About 20, that's right. And you know, there's some wriggle room on the 30%, but the 30% is out of recognition for the failure of the scheme in the under the previous Wyong Council anyway, and that the incentives that were provided that the public didn't receive any benefit from those. So it's kind of like pulling up the chain a bit. So
I've got a different recollection why it failed. I think it was just bad timing. My understanding as being a staff member at Gosford Council at the time, the incentives that Wyong put in place was to encourage investment in the areas where there wasn't a lot of investment happening. And I think the timing for investment in the Central Coast, I think it is a different time now. I really like the intent of what you're proposing. I think 30% may just push that feasibility study.
Pick a figure.
Oh, look, it was 20%. Yeah, no, I think it should be higher than 5. I really
25. I said split the difference. 25.
But you still got to make it viable. We'll take on the financing, hold the asset, go through the DA process, and carry that debt right through to completion. And sometimes the extra 5% can be the difference between something happening on that site.
But it can't be that we're looking at incentive schemes that it has to be tied to public benefit. Sure. Given that it's failed in the past, it has to be tied to public benefit. So
I just want to clarify as well, just that it says secured in perpetuity. From my experience sitting on a few of these planning panels for people that are developing social affordable housing, there is some kind of like a time frame that they need to make sure that that is available for that purpose, but then it kind of ends afterwards.
Yeah. I believe that does.
I'm just concerned in terms of potential developers also using grant funding. A lot of them are using a big grant fund to get this done, that they may not be as interested because of the profitability. I'm not saying that I agree with it or not. I'm just.
I actually originally wrote it up as in perpetuity or 30 years. So wiggle room there. But the in perpetuity is out of respect for the truly significant problem we have in this country, not just on the Central Coast, around affordable housing and the kind of precariousness, the whole precariousness of that sort of area. And and this, I'm not just talking about social housing clients, so like loads and loads of people experiencing precarious housing options outside of social housing clients. So 30 years, if not in perpetuity, 30 years, yeah.
Councillor Castle, then Councillor Crowley.
Oh, yes, I guess the thing that we do need to be aware of here too, and I mean, I suppose it's easy to get bogged down in on new tie, but, and I know it is important, but what we're actually asking for here, in point 3, is we're asking for a report.
That's right.
Back to us. So the fact of the matter is, some of those issues, for example, what you've just mentioned, Councillor Stanton, and you know what you just also mentioned, and what others have mentioned, is when a report comes back to us, then those matters can be addressed in that report. So I guess that's the other side of it. I mean, you know, obviously, if people want to put up an amendment, that's entirely up to them. But I'm just saying, we're not doing anything other than asking for.
I just want to make note for everyone in the room that next time anybody asks for a report, it should equally go by unanimous result, because it's just a report. That just want to put that out there.
Well said, Councillor Stanton.
Councillor Crowley.
Yeah, look, I just wanted to just comment as an outsider. The whole thing sounds fabulous, because particularly in areas like Toukley and the entrance are a little bit more lower socioeconomic areas, and you know, lower cost housing would be fabulous. The idea of a report's terrific as well. So just wanted to be encouraging to everybody to please embrace the idea and do something.
Thank you. Councillor Crowley.
As the mover of the original staff report, I'm happy to take on the amendment, but I'd like to start at that 20%. That 20% seems to be just that right point where you can get a viable development up. Well, the report might come back and say that maybe we can squeeze out 25. I'm pretty confident the report will say that.
So I think if you could agree with 20%, will go through, Councillor Walsh. It's up to you though.
So we're talking about, so John, what you were saying is that we change 20.
I just wanted to gauge a potential further amendment, just because it, as we said, like it is just a report. In terms of these town centres, there are a lot of shop fronts that are vacant, and I think that's a huge part of the problem. That even if we were to, further help the development situation, created places for people, whether that be profitable, not profitable businesses. The point is that we don't have places for them to go, and the infrastructure is lacking. But we do have shop fronts that are struggling. I just wonder whether we can include something about what measures council can take to kind of help shop owners to kind of get more business in terms of to get potential like rent, not like relief. I'm thinking like a rate relief of some sort, or some kind of reduction that allows them to kind of keep their doors open and pass that flow on to rental prices for shop fronts to encourage them back in, which will help this whole situation as well. I wonder if
in this report, or is it?
I encourage a separate report. I like the support.
Okay.
The iconic sites had a criteria around it, so I think I recommend probably meet the criteria around iconic site, but I would definitely support a separate report coming back.
Okay, like it, not in this, like a total separate thing. That's fine. And like it's not a problem.
And because it's tied to the.
Maybe we'll ask the director. Also, we should go to the Economic Development Committee. That's all.
If councillors wanted to add that we identify other incentives, it may just be as simple as that. We can identify other options for providing incentives to revitalise centres. We could definitely do that on part of this report. It's a different thing, but we can then see a suite of different options.
I know that it's not quite the same, but it kind of all ties in. That there's we have this without that, and it doesn't work together.
Yeah.
So you've got some wording that you suggest.
I'm happy to either put it in here. I can do it as a separate thing.
I think it was another F, just a sub.
think we should put it in.
It's fine, don't worry, I'll just do it after, it's fine.
You sure?
Yeah, it's fine.
I think
It was just like a thought that came up as we were doing it, but I can do it later.
Okay, so
I'll watch at the word later.
sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Retract.
On the amendment, you'll
support 20%.
20 and sticking with the in perpetuity or 30 years?
It's only a report. These staff might
Can
come
you say,
back, so
like,
that's a
Can
reason.
we just put in it?
and or?
Yeah, and all, because it doesn't limit it.
We know what they'll go with, but that's fine because it's really the philosophy.
And it's the intent.
Okay, so we,
Can I just ask,
20%,
June.
change the 30 to 20%.
yes. I'll come to your minutes, Councillor Smith, we'll just get the wording right.
And then the and or 30 years. Is it? Yeah. Is that fine?
20%.
There's other things I like.
Security in perpetuity or
30 years.
or at least 30 years.
Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
so just a question to the director, I guess, how does the planning system enforce in perpetuity? Is it enforceable in terms of this means?
Through Chair, yes, Councillor. What happens is Council prepares a affordable housing contribution scheme. That scheme then identifies a rate of affordable contribution, and it requires either a monetary contribution for the development, of which you then collect it, and Council would then source the provision of the affordable housing, or it requires contributions in kind of one dwelling per whatever space. So the two mechanisms are how you would collect an affordable housing contribution. If you're requiring it as a monetary contribution, in essence, it is in perpetuity because Council is actually taking the money and sourcing affordable housing. What happens when there's an in-kind? Some councils, and I think the state government will set a time limit for how long it needs to be provided as affordable housing. That could be 15 years, but then it reverts back to and remains in the ownership of the private owner. So there's sort of a number of ways you can do it. But when it comes over into the public sector, the money or the others, we would normally actually require in perpetuity provision. What you would do is you would fund a community housing provider, and that community housing provider would basically sign legal agreements that the housing needed to be provided in perpetuity, and that's how they get access to the potential funds. So there's lots of ways you can do it, but it's legal agreements.
I misunderstood this proposal then. I thought this was saying a tower of 10 stories, then 20% of that has to be affordable housing forever in perpetuity. That's how I read that. Is that not the intention?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that what you just told me or has responded to, or is that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
I thought you were talking about contributions.
You are requiring contribution. So the way you actually do it is you would provide an incentive, and that incentive would allow the development to be more feasible. And then you would analyse, do an economic analysis on what rate of contribution would still retain the feasibility. You would then set that rate through an affordable housing contribution scheme. So I'm probably being a little bit too complex, but that's the mechanism you do. But in reality, you're giving them an incentive, but you're requiring them to give you funding for affordable housing.
Yeah, I still think this is flawed, so I won't be supporting it. But yeah.
All right. So I think that's agreed. So Councillor Milne, if you withdraw your motion,
This becomes a motion.
with I think was I the seconder? I think I was. So if that was withdrawn, then that becomes the motion.
Or you just incorporate.
Oh yeah, it's first anyhow. Yeah, okay, sure. What's the amendment? So no, we'll just move. All those in favour, we'll just put the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment?
And then it becomes.
That's Councillor Stanton, Councillor Merlin, Councillor Eaton, Councillor Walsh, Councillor Castles. Against Councillor Smith. I'll declare the amendment carried.
Can I have his hand up?
Oh, sorry, Councillor McQuaid. Yes, That's okay. We haven't moved. We still would have to put that. So I'll go to you now, Councillor Macquarie.
Thanks, Chair. Just two thoughts. Is there any, and I might have missed it before, standard ratio that happens at the moment in the development world?
For affordable housing, you mean?
For affordable housing, yeah, Part B of 3.
20.
Through you, Chair. The way we work it out, we would get a standard development feasibility assessment done. And then what you would do is add in what the impact of an incentive would be. So i.e. you get more development yield, more income, but you then have to have the additional costs associated with the affordable contribution. So you are really deciding what a contribution rate based on not making the development not feasible. So you can't decide, but what we know at the moment is we've had an assessment done of the entrance, and with the current sort of planning and zoning settings, development's not feasible for a contribution without an incentive. But we haven't done the work to see what incentive would be required to make a contribution feasible. But I mean, I would sort of, it will be very low if it will be very low in a place like the entrance or Toukley, that rate.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, in theory, it's a real problem we need to deal with, but in theory, it's good. Yes, practicality, I don't think it's going to work. In a sheer business sense, my personal opinion is that they'll go elsewhere. Developers will go elsewhere, which in turn means less affordable housing. I think we should be making it easier, but to get this done. But 20% is a good compromise, and we'll see what the report says.
Thank you. All right, the amendment has become the motion. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Stanton, Councillor Miller, Councillor Walsh, Councillor Castles. Against Councillor Smith. I declare the motion carried. Now we've got some business arising. Councillor Stanton has actually now given some business arising in terms of the estuary, coastal estuary thing committee, which I think has gone to the staff. And we could bring that up. Now, I mean, there's two ways of dealing with it. I'm happy to do as business arising. It's not
in here.
Not in there. But we could recommit the minutes, but I think business arising is just.
Sorry, I didn't think of it before. It's been the appropriate spot.
Yeah.
And you sent it to us?
I sent it to you just.
Oh, I sent it to Bridie.
Can you read it out? It's fairly.
Yeah, no problem. It's pretty simple. It's just recommends that council revokes a particular EPC, and that the subcommittee receives updates on the McMaster's Beach seawall as required. Essentially, in that particular EPC, it was put forward that the McMaster's Beach seawall became a standing item as the agenda for the subcommittee. Given the fact that the McMaster's Beach seawall hasn't had any particular updates at the moment, it's kind of just going along the process. And also noting that we've had correspondence about the length of the meetings and the way that they're kind of running, it would seem reasonable and wise to receive updates when they're actually required, because we have new information as opposed to taking up time on the agenda. So just, yeah.
So it's been moved by Councillor Stanton.
I'm happy to second that, Councillor Stanton.
Councillor seconded. Any further discussion?
Can we just make sure that in the that it actually lists the motion, the resolution that you're sending?
That's the one, EPC.
No, I know that, but what it actually says, just the reference. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
So I guess we don't normally do that.
The director, I believe, is. I'll invite the director to comment to see if there's any issue.
It's up to councillors. We at the moment we don't have a lot to report about McMaster's Beach seawall, and it is very busy at the Coastal Committee. So we would bring reports if you adopt this. We would bring reports when something happens, as opposed to have it on every agenda. Yep.
All right, been moved, seconded. I'll put all those in favour. Councillor Stanton, Councillor, oh yes, that's unanimous, thank you.
Excuse me, Chair, I may have been just not reading this properly, but the previous resolution or recommendation that we put up, that we passed, I don't think, but I may have, I don't think Councillor McQuaid's name is against.
He's not a member of the committee.
It's not a voting member.
Oh, he's not a voting member. No, I'm getting confused with the committees. Yeah.
Okay, no, not the original matter arising, which is confidential, so I need to move procedural motion that we move into confidential session to discuss information of a personal nature. I'll need a seconder for that. Thank you. I'll put that all as in favour. Councillor Stanton.
Like, shouldn't there be notice given?
No, I got advice from the staff. This was the way to do it.
The chair can raise a matter at the meeting.
So sorry, we need to put it. report in open session that the committee recommends the council considers the view of the committee in regard to change in membership of the Coastal Estuary Subcommittee. And with that,
Chair, I move the motion of dissent in the chair.
that's the end of.
Procedural, I can move that at any time. I move dissent in the chair.
What's your dissent in the chair, Councillor Smith?
That during confidential and now that proper process, due process has not been followed and the individuals involved have not been given the opportunity to respond to some of the matters raised in confidential.
That's the same motion as you moved earlier and was defeated, so
No, it's a different motion.
I'm ruling it out of order.
It's a different motion, Chair.
The meeting is now closed. I note that the next meeting will be held at 7 o'clock, Tuesday the 3rd of March. Thank you for your attendance.